let's just say that yesterday's race at Martinsville leaves something to be desired. As the first race with lights, you might have thought that it was going to be better than some of the Martinsville races, but this one just kind of seemed lackluster. Let's talk about it. See, the one thing that I really want to talk about today is that it really seemed to me that this just was not a very exciting race. I mean, when you think about Martinsville, you think about the, beating and banging, close racing type of stuff. But, there really wasn't much close racing at all. Truex won by, 4 seconds, and the next guy was, 3 seconds back at him. The only battles were, guys fighting for 15th every so often, and then the leaders trying to get around the lap cars, and the lap cars just practically giving them the spots because they were multiple laps down, and they were going to go laps down anyways. There were only 2 yellows, and it was practically just cars getting spun around or something. That's okay. At least cars aren't getting torn up, but, they were getting less damage from that than incidents on the track that did not get yellows. And another thing that I thought was funny, in about the last 40 laps, about every 10 or 15 laps, you just had Almirola coming to pit road to get something with a new battery. Because apparently, Stewart-Haas was having a bunch of battery issues, which I thought was really interesting because, they're Stewart-Haas. They're typically a very prepared team, obviously doing very well. Kevin Harvick's leading the point standings right now. He's got 2 wins. In general, Stewart-Haas does very, very well, and yet they just didn't today. Apparently, they had something, again, I'd said something wrong with the batteries, but, I don't know. Apparently, there was an incident under the first yellow. I forget whether it was the competition caution or whether it was for Austin Dillon spinning out, but there was a Rick Ware car that had dropped a battery on the backstretch. A battery just fell out of the car, and then they had to come in and get a new one. Yeah, apparently. But anyways, I'm not saying it was a boring race. I don't think it was boring, but there were parts of it that were really good, but it just in general was not very entertaining. And really, this whole week of racing has not been very entertaining. You had the Texas race for IndyCar. That one just, I've talked about that in the video that I had done Sunday. You can check that out if you want to see my opinions on that. But, it was a one-groove racetrack, and you practically couldn't pass or you were going to wreck. So no one tried to pass. In Atlanta, everything just got so spread out, kind of like this. Just everything got so spread out. There was no real fight for any positions. It was just more of a, if you had a better car, you were going to cycle your way to the lead and then just drive away from everyone. And it wasn't even, the fun kind of, domination, but it's, at some point this is going to end. It's, the reason Truex won this race was because of crash damage. He literally had damage on the right front, They had apparently had to saw off something on the right front, some bit of damage, and it opened a straight on air cooling thing for the tire practically. It was just letting a bunch of air get to the tires so that they weren't overheating, and Truex had the tires that lasted way longer. And it made the tires last way longer, and then he could still go faster on them. And he was just the fastest car out on the track because of crash damage. You don't think of it that way, but that's why it happened. Another thing I want to talk about today is a couple of drivers who did good. Bubba Wallace, Richard Petty Motorsports. Really, he'd worked the strategy in stage 1 to get up there at the end. And then after that, he had a car that he could just kind of slowly, it'd take 100 laps, but he'd gain 10 spots and just, casually up in the top 7 or 8, and he got stage points in both stages. He finished 11th, which I didn't think was great, but, obviously, I think the problem was, apparently, they had some type of problem with something that made it so that they had to do more, like typically when they're jacking the car up, they just have to do one pump with the jack. And apparently something was broken that they had to do like 3 or 4 before they could even start changing tires, and that takes seconds. So they were losing 3 or 4 seconds on pit stops, and they'd fall 7 or 8 spots every time they did that. So Bubba always started near the back. I think if that wouldn't happen, he might have been able to work his way up and maybe got a top 5 finish. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he would have gotten a top 5, but I think he would have at least done better than this. But I think very good job. Credit where credit's due. Great job by Bubba Wallace. Last thing I want to talk about here really is just the Penske camp as a whole. They finished 2, 3, 4, but they were... The 2, 3, 4, they were really... Logano won stage 1, and they were up there fighting for positions all day. I mean, like, other than really pit stops and, like, occasionally getting shuffled out and stuff, Blaney had gone a lap down in stage 1, but once Blaney got that lap back, they just shot to the top and stayed there. Like, I think that the Penske was definitely the best team here, and Penske probably had the best cars coming to the track, because Truex, I'm pretty sure Truex had gone a lap down, and then he had gotten a wave around, and obviously the damage repairs had helped him, like I had talked about earlier, but, like, I think Penske had the best cars and the best setups today, and probably deserved to get the win. But, I don't know, this is, again, I don't want to continue to ramble on about the Truex thing, but it is a kind of funny situation. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and look at the point standings now. So we're going to go ahead and look at your point standings here. You've got your points leader, Kevin Harvick. Let me sort this by wins instead of... So, yeah, Kevin Harvick with 2 wins, Logano with 2 wins, Keselowski, Hamlin. In the 1-win category, Chase Elliott, Truex, and Bowman. Funny thing to look at here, you've got Ryan Blaney here in 6th place in the points standings if we sort it by this. He's in front of Bowman and Hamlin. Bowman has a win. Hamlin has 2 wins, and yet Hamlin is still 26 points behind Ryan Blaney, which it's just funny. Like, Hamlin has either been doing, like, winning races or, like, I don't know. He last night he drove like he was in a front row car, not a Joe Gibbs car. Like, not fast at all. Like, I don't know. Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Clint Bowyer, Matt DiBenedetto, Eric Almirola, Eric Jones, William Byron. William Byron's on the cut line. Right behind him is Austin Dillon, 6 points out of the playoffs. Tyler Reddick, Chris Buescher, and Bubba Wallace. Going to go ahead and talk about Tyler Reddick here, because it seems like for him, he's getting good races and just not getting good finishes by either wrecking or having problems late or something, and it seems like he's been starting to get over that, but the problem is, right now, at least, he's kind of in a position where he's got to get those points back before he actually gets enough to get back up into the area that he wants to be. I think he'll do it. I don't know if this is a bold assumption or what, but I think Tyler Reddick is going to make the playoffs this year. I think that's just he's been driving good. He's not, like, a lot of these rookies, it's just, like, they'll have one good race or something where they're, like, top 10. Reddick is just, like, top 15s consistently, occasional top 10s. Like, obviously, before this, you had races like Phoenix where it was like, oh, Tyler Reddick's in the top 5. Oh, no, he wrecked. Now it's just like, oh, Tyler Reddick's in the top 10 just the whole day and just kind of quietly sits there and finishes 10th, something like that. So I think that's good for him. I think if he keeps that up, he'll be able to make the playoffs. So bold assumption for me, I think he will. So anyways, I think I'm just going to stop this right here and go ahead and put this on my race score thing, and then we can finish up the video. So final thoughts on this race. In my opinion, I think it was kind of a lackluster race, but with good moments. Just if you took, if you just like threw a dart at a board or something that just had a bunch of lap numbers on it, 1 to 500, there's a pretty good chance you were going to land on a boring lap. But occasionally, there was going to be some really, really exciting parts in this race. Obviously, you had times where you had guys in 2nd or 3rd place that had just already climbed through the field, and it was like, when are they going to catch the leader? Will they pass the leader in enough time for, like, Jimmy Johnson or whatever. Well, he passed the leader enough time to win the stage, and he did. I mean, there were really good parts about this race. I think I'm gonna give it this. Excuse me. I think I'm gonna give it a 60. Again, like, I think if all of the, like, super exciting parts were taken out of it, it'd probably be a 30. But I think the exciting parts. I think a NASCAR race racing in general needs to have exciting moments. It doesn't have to be the best race ever, because you cannot have the best race ever every weekend, or it's just going to become, that's going to be boring. Like, I mean, that's the reason why we have these really good races, like Bristol a couple weeks ago. That was a really good race, and that the reason why that's exciting is because that doesn't come along too often. And we need to have races. We have races like this because it happens. I don't think this is really a fault of NASCAR. I think the problem was, like, you had a couple of guys that were really being really dominant throughout this race, and there was just a bunch of stuff happening in the back, and there was a lot of focus really put, probably too much focus put on just the leaders. And like, oh, look, they're lapping this car and this car and this car. And oh, look, this guy's in a free pass position. Where I think if you really would have looked further, you would have seen battles for 10th place or whatever that were happening that you just didn't see. I mean, there were times where we had stuff like, they were talking about a bunch of Truex stuff happening while Bubba Wallace was dicing through the field at the end of that race. He was in 17th or 18th and ended up finishing 11th. He had passed, like, Kevin Harvick and stuff, like, and those were guys that were getting lapped. He was pretty much staying even and just losing a little bit of time occasionally in traffic. Like, he was pretty much staying, like, running similar lap times to Truex. But yeah, I think this was not a great race, but it had some really good flashes of being a good race occasionally. Yeah. Anyways, this has been Half Late Race Reviews. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.